going to study another way of solving systems of equations. Again, this is using algebra. We've already talked quite a bit about graphing, but we're going to solve by a new method in algebra. Yesterday, we solved by substitution. And really, substitution works great if one of the equations is already solved for a variable. So yesterday, we did solving by substitution. You can see in this case, y equals 3x plus 6. And that is a great indication that, wow, I can use substitution to solve this. Great method, all right? That's not always going to be the case, though. We do have an alternate way to solve systems of equations that's called elimination. This system uses a process where you add the two equations together to eliminate one of the variables. All right, so let's look at an example of how this works. We have these two equations in our system of equations, 2x plus 5y equals 27. And we have another equation where it's negative 2x plus 4y equals 0. And when we get two equations together, one of the first things we need to look at, can I add these two equations together in a way where one of the variables would cancel out? Well, by looking at this equation, we can see that if we add 2x and negative 2x, we add these two terms right here together, we can tell that they're going to cancel out. They're negatives. 2x and negative 2x cancel out equals 0. So once we see that, we can say, well, gosh, I can solve this better by using a system called elimination instead of using substitution, right? Because there's no term that's solved for there. There's y. It's not solved for y. It's not solved for x. So we need to use an easier method. In this case, elimination is an easier method. So let's go ahead and solve this way. All right, so we've got these two equations. We're going to line them up to add them together. Now, in this case, these two equations are already lined up. But what I mean by lining up is that our variables need to be lined up. We have to add variable to variable. So the two x's are stacked. The 5y and 4y are stacked together, and then our constant terms are stacked. They have to be done that way in order to use this method. All right, so we've got them lined up. We can add them together. 2x plus negative 2x together cancel out. And the 5y plus the 4y together gives us 9y. 27 plus 0 together gives us 27. So now we've got this 9y equals 27. Now we solve it just like we do any other equation. We're going to divide both sides by 9. The 9's are going to cancel out on the one side, and we're left with y is equal to 3. All right, now, we're kind of at the same place where we were yesterday. We have solved for one variable, and we need to figure out what the other variable is. So in this case, we solved for y. We need to know what x is. Another example, you might solve for x. You got to find out what y is. All right, so we've got y is equal to 3. Now, we're going to take that information and we're going to put it back into either one of the equations. All right, so y is equal to 3. So I'm going to substitute that in place, and I chose this equation, 2x plus 5y equals 27. That's one of our original equations. It's that one right there. All right, so we're going to say, we're going to take this 3 and put it in place of that y. All right, so we get this 2x plus 5 times 3 now is equal to 27. Again, you can see that we've taken that 3, we put it in place of y, and now we're going to go ahead and solve for x. This is just basic algebra. Again, you guys, the biggest mistakes I saw people make yesterday, anytime that you guys do these types of equations, is that you mix up your positive and negatives. All right, so in this case, 5 times 3, we don't have to worry about negatives in this case. Everything's nice and positive. 2x plus 15 equals 27. Now, basic algebra, added 15 here. In order to get rid of that, I want to subtract 15. I got to do it from both sides of the equation to keep it balanced. These things are going to cancel here. So I'm left with 2x on that side equals 12. It's 2 times x equals 12. Well, I do the opposite operation, which means I divide by 2. So I've got 2x divided by 2, and I've got 12 divided by 2. Got to keep things balanced. And that leaves me with x equals 6. All right, now, that works. Y is equal to 3, x is equal to 6, and there's our answer right here, our solution. All right, system of equations. We want to look right away. If I add these two equations together, and again, I've got them stacked up, if I add these two equations, does one of the variables cancel out when I add them? Well, negative 4x and 5x, that doesn't. All right, so that doesn't work. Well, what about negative 3y and 3y? Sure enough, if I add those together, they're going to cancel out. So I can use elimination on this system of equations. So I'm going to add these two equations together. Negative 4x plus 5x gives me x. The negative 3y and the 3y give me, will they cancel out? So I have x equals 5, right? Because negative 23, 28 equals 5. All right, so now I've got one of the variables. Now I just need to substitute that into one of the equations. Doesn't matter which one. I'm going to choose the equation 5x plus 3y equals 28. This equation right here. And I'm going to put the 5 in place of the x. So 5 times 5 plus 3y equals 28. So 25 plus 3y equals 28. Again, basic algebra, just to go over it again, we need to subtract 25 from both sides. It's going to cancel out there. And I'm left with 3y is equal to 3. Divide both sides by 3. And I'm left with y equals 1. And now we've got our solution. Today, you need to work on solving systems of equation by elimination. I'm giving you an example here. Negative 3x plus 5y equals 20. And the other equation is 3x plus 3y equals 36. You can use elimination to solve this system of equations. What I want you to do is to solve this system of equations on your own. When you get done, you need to get your answer to Mr. Snyder, and he will check it. If you're correct, you can move on to work on systems of equations with simple elimination on Khan Academy. If you don't have it right, go back and recheck your work. When you get your other answer, you need to check with Mr. Snyder again. Once you get it done, move on to systems of equations with simple elimination. As soon as you get those problems done on Khan Academy, if you've already completed the other problems on Khan Academy, you need to get on your blog, make a new post, what you are thankful for Thanksgiving. Before you leave today, you need to make sure that you get that blog post done. As always, our blog posts are graded assignments. This time, it has to be at least 100 words. All right, so you've got Khan Academy to work on. You've got your blog post to work on. You've got plenty of things to work on.